But it's time to get us started on some of these questions, sir. You've been very, very busy.
Oh yeah,
You've been in the headlines. And we're going to get
yeah.
into that, but I wanted to get started a little bit with the origin. Okay, so for those unfamiliar, what brought you into the labor movement?
Oh man. Well, Amazon fired me. Go figure. Like they fired many people in their 30 years of existence, but I was fired during the pandemic. Um, Considered one of the Amazon whistleblowers for COVID-19. Um, I wasn't trying to be a labor organizer or even an activist. I was just trying to speak up for those who I was supervising in the building. I was a supervisor at Amazon for 4.5 years. I worked at the company 5 years. And in 2020, as y'all remember, the pandemic hit. They deemed us essential workers, and Amazon, a $2.2 trillion company, failed to protect their employees, 2.5 million workers worldwide. And as a supervisor, I tried to fight internally, raising concerns in the building, going through management. But unfortunately, they tried to silence me by quarantining only me out of the thousands of workers that work in my building. So I knew I had to escalate things. So that's when I turned my attention to the media. Um, and the media was so caught up with Donald Trump, and it was an election year, 2020, I remember. And I knew I had to do something further drastic and unprecedented. So I organized a walkout at my building that fired me. And yeah, 2 hours after that walkout, I was fired for being the Amazon whistleblower. But I don't regret it because I cost the company $4 billion. And they kind of expedited the labor part. Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world at the time, made the most money during the pandemic, making $13 billion a day, $9 million an hour, $5,000 a second. Had a meeting about me, and in his meeting, he said something that's obviously something in the black community as a stigma, calling me not smart or articulate, but ironically, they also said to make me the face of the whole movement, the whole unionizing efforts against Amazon. So I said that's a good idea. But this was signed by the richest man in the world, and for him to have this meeting to talk about little old me, somebody who's making less than $50,000 a year, I knew I had to embrace that moment to organize instead of just taking legal action, which I did anyway. Um, but the real justice came a year and a half later after I founded my nonprofit organization called the Congress of Essential Workers. I organized protests from every Jeff Bezos that we could find in America, from the East Coast to the West Coast. Um, and then a year and a half after that, that's when we founded the Amazon Labor Union. And for 11 months, campaigned outside the building that fired me in the pandemic, talking to workers every day for over 300 plus days, set up an encampment, earned the trust and built relationships with the workers, and gave them the opportunity to vote in the first union for America and the first union for Amazon workers in America, in American history.
So, what is the status of that movement today, specifically the Amazon labor unions in New York? What's been the progress? How are they doing right now?
Yeah, I mean, that victory was obviously historical. It resonated with millions of workers around the world. People say it was the resurgence of the labor movement. It was a victory that was generational, hasn't been done in over 100 years. But if you ask me, no company has ever been to Amazon ever. So I would say this victory never been done before. And because of the inspiration that the Amazon Labor Union had inspired on pulls on people, um, not only have there been several campaigns around the world, but in our home state of New York, we were able to not only draft a bill, the Warehouse Protection Act, but we got that passed 2 years ago by the governor. And unfortunately, because of these administrations that even under the Biden administration, the National Labor Relations Board was very understaffed and $20 million in debt. So we weren't able to have our bargaining order delivered in time. Now we have the Trump administration, and the first thing Trump did was attack the labor board. So the status of our union is still without a contract, still fighting for a contract. I'm proud to say that my union was there the day I was released from prison at the airport, my entire union. And I'm proud to say that we're going to continue to fight for a contract. I'm organizing a campaign now to hopefully shut down the building, go on strike, because that's the only way we're going to get our first contract. It's by shutting down the means of production.
Hmm. So it's amazing. When we come to these spaces, we often talk about a lot of different strategies for Black people to build power. Voting, and you already talked a little bit about the two-party trap, uh, financial literacy, trying to buy back the block, things of that nature. But the richest man on earth, one of the most powerful people on earth, was talking about you in particular. That wasn't through buying power, it wasn't through any of those things, it was through labor. So, can you make it plain for folks? Why is labor such a weapon that scares these people this way?
It's simple. Billionaires can't do the jobs that we do. The only way billionaires become as rich as they are is by exploiting the class of people. And Amazon employs 1.5 million workers in America, and majority of those workers are Black, brown, indigenous, or immigrant. So majority of their workforce is Black and brown. They strategically set up these buildings, and take it from me, who opened up three of them, New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. They strategically set up these buildings and warehouses not too far from the hood because that's their workforce. And what I mean by exploitation, there you have it. They're exploiting our communities. They completely change how society operates in less than 30 years. Think about this, you know, 15 years ago, you wasn't shopping on Amazon. You was getting up, going to your local mom and pop stores in your hood. You was going to Main Street. You was going to the shopping malls. But because everybody decided to hit one click buy and give their money to the everything store, Amazon, they put your favorite childhood stores out of business and change your entire community right before your eyes, to the point where now we used to say it takes a village to raise a child. Now people are not even talking to each other in their own village. A lot of people are isolated. You don't even know your neighbors anymore. People used to, I grew up in the 90s where, the crossing guard will keep an eye on the kids. Your neighbors will keep an eye on the kids. You were able to borrow sugar, borrow milk. Nowadays, people don't even talk to each other. They're isolated. You go to a store, it's self-checkout, it's cashless. When you order stuff online, things are being delivered. You don't even interact with people anymore. And that has to do everything with Amazon and how they have completely changed our society in less than 30 years. So, just knowing our value, especially during the pandemic, just like the Great Depression, there was an uprising in labor. And when they called us essential workers, well, the definition of essential is necessity, meaning that they need us. And I know that Jeff Bezos can't come to any of these warehouses and pack a box faster than anybody of color, anybody in the community. So who's the real billionaires is really us, who's really valuable, and our labor is our strongest weapon that we have.
Absolutely. Word. So I'm gonna take this down two paths. One's the historical, and then one we're gonna talk about the international. So you have this consciousness, like when you speak about what happened before. So you don't come into these movements like a lot of people, like, oh, I'm just trying to solve the problem here and now. This is unique. You just talking about the Great Depression, the people who came before. So for our folks in Black Men Build, when we're talking about making it plain, we're referring to Malcolm X. When we study Walter Rodney, we're always inheriting a tradition. So as somebody who's a Black labor activist now, are there any Black labor movements or revolutionary Black labor leaders you look to for inspiration or guidance?
Yeah, I mean, obviously my our ancestors who paved the way, you know, they say history repeats itself. But I also know that we're in different times and the history that um, is not taught to us in our classrooms, the history that I'm even creating myself and with my union and with the things that I'm doing, is so important that we talk about these things and connect these dots and connect these struggles and connect history. A. Philip Randolph, the first Black trade unionist to establish the first national Black union under the AFL coalition, is someone that people compare my movement to a lot. He also was a civil rights leader. Um, we talk about we can even talk about where Martin Luther King was killed in Memphis. He was killed at a labor rally. A lot of people don't bring that up as well. And we could talk about my inspiration with Palestine, the Black Panthers, how they had um, a hand-in-hand relationship with Palestine. They even put together a news article, a newspaper together as a community. They understood the colonialism around the world and how that related to the Black struggle here in America. You brought up Walter Rodney. I was blessed to meet his late wife. I was blessed to meet his family, his granddaughter. I was blessed to watch that film and his documentary. This is history that's not taught to us in our classrooms. And the day I was fired, I got a call from Reverend Jesse Jackson, um, out of nowhere. And till this day, I still don't know how he got my phone number, but
That's a scary, scary thought right there.
yeah, but the thing that Jesse Jackson said was that I reminded him of a young Martin Luther King. And I'm like, is this a prank phone call? But it happened to be the real Jesse Jackson who provided me with a lawyer who's actually based here in Atlanta right now. Shout out to CK Hoffler, who represented Reverend Jesse Jackson for over 30 years. Amazing Black woman, powerful Black woman. She's the president of the NBA, National Black Association for Lawyers. And um, not only that, I give you another gem that is actually not even public, but it will be soon. But the jacket that I was wearing the day I went to the White House is going to be in the Martin Luther King exhibit in the Civil Rights Museum, opening up next year, May of 2026. So just relating to history, relating to labor, I'm honored to carry the torch of our ancestors and pave the way for our future generation as well.
Right. And thank you for drawing those parallels. Checking the chat. Um, Real quick as we move forward. If you all have questions, please use the Q&A function. Not raising hands, but if you drop them in the Q&A, we'll be able to answer them shortly. And I think you already started transitioning us down that route with the international, talking about the Panthers, Palestine, Walter Rodney, Dr. Patricia Rodney, who's still doing great work, and all the global struggles we're having right now. So why didn't you just stay focused on American workers, right? You could just say that, right? Solve your own thing, organize in New York. Why are you looking into places like Cuba? Was one of the first things I saw you doing. Why are you moving beyond just the US?
Because oppressed people all around the world got to understand that, capitalism, America is the heart of capitalism. Other countries, they thrive to have this type of system, two-party system, one-party system where they can control all the money, all the power, control the working class. And if we don't build real international solidarity, then our oppressors, they win. The reason capitalism thrives is because it divides people. It puts us all in boxes. It divides us by creating fear, by creating doubt, and creating divisiveness. international solidarity was something that I knew we had to do because we were taking on an international company. Amazon employs workers, 2.5 million workers worldwide. And what is happening in America, even though it's the largest workforce, they're trying to spread to other countries. So Amazon workers from around the world have contacted me. Um, Cuba just happens to be a working class country. Trade unions thrive in Cuba. They have, I believe, somewhere around a 90% union density rate. And Fidel Castro, who I was fortunate enough to learn the history about, um, he strongly supported the working class, strongly supported labor solidarity with the people, and ending the blockade, the unjust, inhumane blockade of Cuba that's been happening for over 60 plus years is a labor issue. Same thing when it comes to the struggles of Palestine and all of the wars around the world, all the genocides that's happening around the world. Labor has everything to do with it. And we can start with the Congo as well, where, child labor laws, all of these things don't exist. And that's the reason why labor is supposed to be the shield for the working class, and we have to connect these dots and struggles. So for me, I just try to do the best I can, connecting the struggles worldwide along with my journey. A lot of people in America, unfortunately, 70% of Americans don't even have a passport. So 70% of Americans don't even know the difference of what they're missing. And as an American labor worker or trade unionist, there's a reason why that is by design. Because if we went right over the border to Canada, we have realized that they have universal health care,
Mm.
something that we should have here in America, who quote unquote claims to be the most richest and powerful country in the world. But we don't. Cuba actually has not only one of the best healthcare systems, they also have no homelessness, 0% homeless rate, 0% crime rate. Every worker has a house in Cuba. That's unheard of in America. And it's unfortunate, even with all the things that they're dealing with, the blockade, the sanctions, being deemed a terrorist list, that this small little island provided so much help during the pandemic that it sent doctors all over the world with one of the best vaccines. So, just understanding the power of the working class and understanding that the responsibility of a trade unionist is to protect the working class. We have to connect all of our struggles and understand that capitalism only thrives not only because of racism, but because of keeping the people divided. And we have to once again break down these barriers and break down these stigmas.
Yeah, absolutely. Keeping people to credit across borders. So I'm from Miami, so a little Miami history. I don't know if you're aware of this, but for our audience, just that connection to Cuba and you really linked it, Black labor and international solidarity. So Jeff Bezos was not born with the last name Bezos, for those who don't know. Comes from his adoptive stepfather, Miguel Bezos, who was brought over to the US by the CIA, the US State Department and the Catholic Welfare Bureau in Operation Pedro Pan, which was a counterintelligence operation against the Cuban people. So it's very interesting how our enemies are always linked in that way as well. So
Right.
very important link you made there. But we want to focus tonight on one specific effort you've made, and that was the Freedom Flotilla to occupy Palestine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So just for the people, what is the Freedom Flotilla? Because some people are saying there are more now. Some are under attack in the news right now, and so
Yeah.
they're being
Yeah.
conscious that this isn't just a one-off event. So if you could lay that out for the people.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Freedom Flotilla Coalition has been happening for over 17 years, since 2006. They are a movement that was pledging to deliver humanitarian aid and break the illegal siege that Israel has imposed for nearly 2 decades. It didn't start on October 7th. Uh, the Madeleine with Greta Thunberg that got a lot of attention 3 months ago wasn't the first one. And even the Handala mission that I was on wasn't the second one. That was actually flotilla mission number 37. Right now, we're witnessing the Global Samul Flotilla Coalition, an initiative with 44 different nations from around the world, over 300 volunteers from around the world, activists, influencers, journalists, and most importantly, even Palestinians are joining this mission to once again break the illegal siege. That is our main goal. Delivering humanitarian aid is secondary, but what we attempted to do, especially with the Handela mission, was deliver much needed baby formula, medical supplies, women care products, food, medicine, prosthetic parts to the people of Gaza who's facing a level 5 famine. 85% of their population right now is facing famine. And Israel is in not only committing war crimes, but they violated the International Court of Justice ruling, which ruled last year in the court against South Africa and genocide against Israel, that humanitarian aid cannot be blocked by land, air, or sea. Everything that we're doing with these flotilla missions is in our actual rights. We have the right to deliver this humanitarian aid. Israel is in the wrong. They have no jurisdiction on international waters. And every attack that they have so far, even on the flotillas that's currently selling, is an attack on those countries. Because when you're selling underneath those countries' flags, you are protected by that country's sovereignty. Unfortunately, with my mission with the Handala, because I was on land when I was assaulted, I had to go through the U.S. court system, which we know is very complicit, if not actively participating in genocide. And the only way that I'm going to get justice is the same way I'm going to continue to organize and continue to try to break the illegal siege that Israel has imposed. Once again, we all have a role to play, not encouraging people to get on these flotillas. But I am encouraging everybody to do something. If you feel that you have something to contribute, whatever that is, whether it's showing up to a protest, showing up to a rally, using your platform, using your voices, disrupting places, whatever it is in your heart that you can do, this is our fight and we must do something. Sitting back and being silent, silence is complicit, complicity is death right now.
Mm. Thank you for sharing that. And everyone has a role to play. I'm really curious if you could paint the picture for people of what that role looked like, because y'all were at sea. It was a lot of people from a lot of different countries. I'm just curious what that was like. How long were you at sea? Just for people who are
Yeah.
curious, what were y'all eating?
Yeah.
What was it like?
It was a great experience overall because I built a bond with 21 volunteers from around the world, 19 activists. We represented about 8 or 9 different countries, 2 journalists, and we sell the Mediterranean Sea, aka an open graveyard. Um, we sailed that for 7 days, and we had to build a family bond. You know, I was the only black man on board. My crew knew that. My white counterparts knew that. So they were definitely understanding that I was at high risk. We did have an Arab brother, my brother Hatem from Tunisia. He was at a high risk. So our crew, we definitely had a bond that was going to protect one another. And when we were captured by the IOF, we locked arms, we sung, we screamed Free Palestine together, and we all knew what we signed up for. We knew the risk that putting our lives on the line, um, something that we all had to face. And you know, I'm from New York, New Jersey area, so y'all know I didn't go over there to be quiet. So when I saw the IOF, I definitely gave them a piece of my mouth.
Mhm.
Definitely told them that these guns and weapons that they holding ain't without them guns and weapons, they ain't nothing. And yeah, I may have gave him the middle finger a few times, but regardless of the fact, I was assaulted. I was thrown to the ground. They put their knees in my back. They twisted both arms behind my back. They choked me with my chains. They told me to shut up repeatedly. They slammed me on the ground a few times. They carried me away like an animal. three guys on each side. They separated me from my crew. They threw me against the wall. You know, they said some racist remarks saying they're nothing like me, they're not my brothers. And they guarded me heavily throughout the entire process. When we were in prison, they used other forms of psychological warfare. They weaponized the fact that we were on a hunger strike, so we weren't accepting no food.
Mhm.
They punished us for that. They kept us on solitary confinement, 24/7 lockdown, didn't allow us to see the light of day. We only had about 5 minutes to see our lawyers. They didn't allow my lawyer to come see me. They weaponized the food, knowing that we wasn't going to eat. They would sit food in front of us. They lied to us every day, telling us we were going home, knowing that we weren't,
Mhm.
especially me. And then they raided us twice, you know, with the raid unit. They made us strip naked, humiliate us, and then they would leave knowing that we couldn't smuggle anything. The last thing they did was out of the 14 of us that went to prison, um, 12, our white counterparts, were taken to Tel Aviv airport and directly deported to their countries. But with me and my Arab brother being the only black and Arab, they dropped us off at the border of Jordan, something they've never done before. So when people ask me like how was my experience, I tell the truth that I got confirmation that Israel is a racist apartheid state.
Question. Appreciate that. Again, as we go through tonight, please, I see love coming from the chat. Drop your questions. We'll get into them very shortly. Very much appreciate you describing that experience, and don't want to beat a dead horse because you did mention this before, but there are still people who will ask, what does that got to do with us? Why are you over there fighting in Palestine when we got our fight here? Now we know labor's connected and things like that. But can you answer people who would state that, because that's what divides labor. We have that with ICE ramping up right now, and black people saying this isn't our fight. So to counteract that CIA propaganda, how would you respond?
Yeah, I think you already answered it too. I mean, CIA propaganda. I don't know where that came from.
Mm,
But I do know I heard that before. Remember 5 years ago when George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, when they met their fate, what did they tell the black community to do? The same thing.
stay home.
Sit this one out.
Yeah.
It's time for white people to step up. And this goes back to what Malcolm X said. You can't have capitalism without what? Racism. And I already mentioned it that capitalism thrives by divisiveness. So, of course, they're going to tell us to sit this one out every time because they want to keep us divided. And by us sitting this one out, we're doing exactly what they want. So, for me, no, as a black man, the Palestinian struggle, the Palestinian liberation is our fight. As I mentioned, Palestinians always stood with the civil rights movement. You can ask Angela Davis herself.
Mhm.
And I take it a step further. Amazon has everything to do with this genocide. They invested $7.2 billion into Project Nimbus, along with Google, Meta, and Starlink. They are surveilling innocent Palestinians and targeting them. They are essentially the Iron Dome, Amazon Web Services.
Mhm.
As an American taxpaying dollar, our taxpaying dollars are going towards this genocide. Trump just gave uh, Israel $6 billion of our money. As a father of three beautiful kids, I don't want my children to grow up in the world that we're living in now. Um, Obviously, children are dying every day in Palestine. And my kids are at that age where they have social media, they're 13 and 15 years old. They understand what they're witnessing. And I had that conversation with them before I left. The only people I spoke to was my children, understanding that I'm fighting for their future as well. So there were several reasons why this is our fight, but reminding people that these stigmas that they put in the black community is the same stigmas that our oppressors been using for hundreds of years. Just like when I was fired from Amazon, calling me not smart or articulate is something that they use against black men in every corporate room because they're saying that we're not smart or articulate enough to talk about work-related issues.
Mm.
The same thing when we're talking about Palestine and Israel. They want black people to sit this one out, keep us divided, keep us silenced, keep us suppressed, and we can't allow that. We have to once again stand hand in hand, uh, protect one another, protect our neighbors, and come together as people. People ask me, how did you beat a $2.2 trillion company like Amazon? It wasn't money. The day we won against Amazon, we had $2.50 in our bank account. So my response is the same response I'm gonna have for what we're seeing with Palestine. It was the power of people when we come together. That's what beat Amazon. They couldn't calculate, they could calculate money, they could calculate profits, how many people they hire, how many people they fire, how much money Jeff Bezos make, but they can't calculate love and solidarity. That's something that they just, it's like a foreign territory for them.
It's poison.
And the same thing that we're seeing with the Palestine liberation movement. Israel is our enemy, but Palestine, the people of Gaza, has brought the world, the entire world together. And it's going to take the entire world, for example, which is seen with the global Samud flotilla, 44 countries. Three of these countries just put out their navy vessels to guide them. That's what we're needing right now. We need countries from around the world to hold Israel accountable. And the catalyst of that is the USA, who's been sending weapons to Israel every 15 hours for the last 23 months.
Thorough answer. Appreciate that. Seeing a lot of questions in the chat now, so we're gonna hop into our Q&A section a little early to make sure we can get through all of these. So, well, this is an interesting one as a labor organizer. Paul Joseph asked, what questions guide how you compile information to present to people who have not organized before or are skeptical of organizing? So how do you bring somebody in?
Well, two things I tell my organizers. Um, don't assume that somebody's as radicalized as you are. So first thing first is get to know your colleagues, get to know your coworkers. You trying to organize, you can't go over there because you read a book or you read Karl Marx or you read a book that gives you that emboldened power to organize because that's not going to work. What's going to work is you understanding your own community, you understanding your people. What are the needs? Where do your children go to school at? What are the hobbies that you like? What are the music that you listen to? What are the food you like to eat? What are the activities you have in common? And when you start to build that type of relationship with your colleagues, you'll realize that you have a lot more in common than you think. You know why they don't tell us to talk about our wages at work? Because they don't want you to tell, they don't want the next person to know the truth, is that y'all both are being exploited. They always say this in every job. I guarantee, I promise you, every job that you can work at, the first thing you see up in fine print is do not talk about wages to your coworkers because they don't want you to know that management is probably making six times the amount as you at the bottom, and you're doing six times the amount of work. And when you have these conversations, you realize that, hey, now there's a common enemy. The enemy is the boss. So as an organizer to organizer, don't lead with the radical ideas that you may have. Lead with trying to befriend somebody, get to know them on a personal level, and then find like-minded individuals. Identify your leaders. If you're a leader, it's time for you to lead by example. If you're an activist, it's time for you to get active.
Yeah, Brother Timeless, our comrade in Bubancha, known as New Orleans. Chris, how were you developed politically?
Developed. I'll tell you this. I only have one vote under my belt. I voted like every black man should have back when Obama ran his first term. And I did it because I was 18 years old. It was my first vote. Um, my grandfather actually took me. I was in Florida. I went to college in Florida. Um,
Where at?
I was in St. Lucie County, Central Florida. I went to school at Florida Atlantic University.
Of course.
And yeah, my grandfather took me when Obama ran for his first term, and I voted for him. But I didn't vote for him the second time. And I'm proud to say that I haven't voted in any election ever since. And I'm 37 years old, for good reasons. And I think we all know who these people are now, who they turned out to be. Obviously, Obama, like, any other career politician, he's lost his way. Not only that, he disappointed our community, and you know, um, he was also a war criminal, dropping bombs and killing and deporting, and you name it. He has it all on his hands and under his resume. So I'm proud to say that I only have one vote under my whole, um, I guess you say, voting history. But my mom, I grew up in a single parent home. My mom raised me. My dad's been incarcerated my whole life. He's been incarcerated since he was 18 years old. So I grew up as the oldest child. I had to learn from pretty much being in the streets. Um, growing up a little bit faster, had a lot more responsibilities. But as I got older, I knew that this two-party system is not for us, and I still believe that this two-party system is not for us. As of now, I'm building my own party. It's called the U.S. Labor Party, something we once had in the U.S. We had a Labor Party in the 1960s and 70s. It was dissolved because of the two-party system that killed it. So what I'm trying to do right now is revitalize that because I feel like labor represents all people. And if I can take on Amazon, I think I can take on this challenge as well. I know it's going to be a hell of a challenge, but we have to find a way off this two-party plantation, especially with the Trump administration and everything that Trump is trying to do to become and turn this country into a dictatorship.
Let's see here. Someone asked the question I had. Great minds think alike. I like this one. While efforts to unionize at Amazon's facility in Alabama were disrupted and ultimately unsuccessful, a similar campaign on Staten Island was more successful. What factors contributed to the success in Staten Island compared to the failure in Alabama?
Well, Amazon spent $20 million in Bessemer, Alabama. That building, just like Staten Island, has similar demographics. 6,000 workers. 85% of the workforce was black workers. 80% were black women. And Amazon spent $20 million trying to stop that campaign, and they were successful. Um, the difference is that that union, unfortunately, was partnered up with an established labor union called the RWDSU. And me and my coworkers, we drove from New York City down to Bessemer, Alabama to learn about that campaign before we even started our campaign. And we saw some things that were concerning. The fact that the union, even though they were getting a lot of attention, they had a lot of politicians supporting them. Bernie Sanders was down there. They even brought out Killer Mike, celebrities, AOC was down there, and they had a lot of headlines, and we thought they were going to win. But when we started to talk to the workers, we got a whole nother story, that the unions, there was a disconnect between the union and the workers inside the plant, where unions didn't have access to the plant because they had police officers at every entrance. So the intimidation factor, the fear and doubt, the same thing going back to capitalism and how it works. Amazon thrives off of that when it comes to union busting as well. The reason why we were successful and still till this day, the only building in America is my building that's unionized. The reason why our formula works is because we're actual authentic Amazon workers that are in the building. My lead organizer is a 10-year Amazon worker. That is unheard of. He's probably the most tenured worker in the entire world. And he's my lead organizer. And because of that, that leadership and the fact that we are Amazon workers, even the fact that I don't work there no more, I still know the ins and outs of the company. I opened up 3 warehouses for them. I was an assistant manager for 4.5 years. I started off entry level. I know the company better than Jeff Bezos. And for us as Amazon workers to start the Amazon labor union was something that the labor movement was missing. And that relationship that we have with our colleagues in the building was the formula that we need to unionize the building entirely, in which we were able to do successfully.
That was a great lesson. You've been great organizing lessons. The view from below often looks different than the view from above. And I appreciate you pointing out the workers know the work better than the bosses. That's kind of how that class struggle begins. Um, I'm going to look through for some more, someone did ask if you have more information about Amazon Web Services and the Iron Dome. If you wanted to expand on that, I think you answered pretty thoroughly though. Um,
I tell you this. The expansion is that you can look at Amazon Web Services and their contracts we have right here in the US. Amazon's, when people say boycott Amazon, that's not going to work because you can boycott the retail part, but most of their revenue comes from Amazon Web Services. And the web services that I'm talking about is not the ones you see when you go to the restaurant and you click on the menu and it says AWS. I'm talking about the government contracts with the Pentagon. Do your own research. You'll see how many billions of dollars in contracts Amazon Web Services has with our own military industrial complex. And then you'll understand why they invested into Israel so heavily.
I appreciate that, Boris. We're gonna have to clip that one because I've been explaining to folks why the Target boycott, why multinational companies need a labor attack, not so
Mhm.
much a boycott. And I
Mhm.
appreciate how you just laid that out right there. We can't boycott multinational corporations, y'all. You gotta hit them where Jeff Bezos gets scared, which is labor. See some more questions. I was going to ask something similar to this, what Alex Thompson asked, which is I was going to ask you general advice to you as a father, but also this person is saying, what would you do as a young person dealing with social anxiety and without much community um, as you're trying to survive these systems of capitalism? So, how do you find community, I think, and then advice for the youth?
Yeah, you guys have all the tools necessary to do and be as creative as you want. You know, I was sued 4 times for using TikTok against Amazon because our videos went viral. Um, First things first, I'll give y'all a homework assignment. Watch the film that Amazon fought for everybody not to see. It's a film called Union. It's about the organizing that I did creating the union. And it's called unionthefilm.com. You can go on unionthefilm.com and rent the movie. It's a 90-minute documentary. And guess what? The film was so good it made the Oscar list last year. You didn't hear about it because Amazon, like any other Hollywood company, tried to block our film from getting distribution. So we actually have a distribution deal right now with PBS. You can watch the film for free on PBS app, or you can watch it on YouTube, or you can watch it directly on unionthefilm.com. I encourage you to watch it on the website because that's the unedited version and the longer version. And the reason why I bring it up because it shows you what unprecedented ways we organize against Amazon. It shows you that at one point, because marijuana is legal in New York State, that I had to give out marijuana to get us back in the game against the company. And that's something labor unions will, you won't see your average labor union doing, obviously. But there are unionized uh, cannabis shops. There are things that labor unions organize in different sectors that you wouldn't even know of. So what I'm saying is this: when it comes to trying to find your space, find your community, if you're not very vocal or if you're too shy, whatever the case may be, you can be as creative as you want. Use the tools that we have now. We're in the 21st century where technology, they're going to use it against us, but if we learn how to use it against them, so be it. I don't want to say use AI, but AI is coming for all of us. But if you're using AI, then use it to the best of your ability to organize against our oppressors. Not only that, um, yeah, think outside the box. Uh, Times have changed. I don't look like your average union president. When I went to the White House, I said the same thing. I told them the same thing that they say to us in church, come as you are. Because they told me that I had to take off certain things before I stepped foot in the White House. And I told them I'm going to represent the community that I come from. And when I said that, they understood that I stood on business. And representation is everything. Don't let anybody diminish who you are. Be authentic as you want to, come as you are, as they say in church, and think outside the box. Be as creative as you want when you come to organizing. Um, the sky's the limit. And I grew up in the time where before Instagram was a thing, even before Twitter was a thing, I was a rapper at 18, 19 years old. And the way I had to get people to come to my shows, I had to go talk to them face to face. I had to hand out flyers at my high school, hand out flyers at the local college, Fairleigh Dickinson University, just to get people to come to my independent rapper show. And I was successful in doing that. But those skills carried a long way because now I use those same skills as an independent artist the same way I use in organizing. And if you would have told me as a fifth grader, 10 years old, if you'd have walked in my classroom on career day and told me that I could be as cool as a rapper, as a union organizer, I'd have been doing it a long time ago.
I appreciate that. So I'm going to take maybe two more questions. Been having a long day, a lot of travel for us. So I'm seeing them in the chat. Um, well, this will be an interesting one. So there'll be two. I think I'll close this out. Start with a more challenging question. So someone's asking about finding unions around them, but I was going to ask that question as well. So what about sectors of work that aren't so clearly organized in unions, like gig work that we have now, people with disabilities who can't access labor in the traditional sense? How do you encourage their organization and participation in movements like this?
Well, I would just lay out the facts. Here in America, our union density is in the trash.
Mm.
It's less than 6% in the private sector, less than 10% in the public sector. That is horrible. We're probably the lowest density country in the world. One of them. We're probably bottom five. When I can go where I just came from in Europe, in Sweden, in the Nordics, when they have 80, 90% union density, meaning everybody, every sector is in the union. And why is that? Because they have a multi-party government. They have a Labor Party, they have a Socialist Party, they have a Green Party. Here in America, we have a two-party system. So that's one thing. Second thing, labor unions are heavily involved with the Labor Party or the Socialist Party or in the government completely. We don't have that here in America. And unfortunately, our labor unions are failing us. We can see and we can talk about how they've been complicit with Palestine. As you've seen around the world, dock workers from Greece, from Italy, from Spain, from France, they're already striking, shutting down the ports for Palestine. We did that once before when it came to the South African apartheid. Our longshoremen union members shut down the ports for the South African apartheid. Why haven't that happened now? It's because labor is complicit in failing the working class and allowing politics to lead their organizations. And because of that, our union density is declining every day because the jobs that are being created are ununionized. So for those who want to be unionized, you're going to have to take a page from our book. And that's why I want y'all to watch the film and create a union from scratch because it's not impossible. And I know people say it is impossible with certain industries and corporations. They said the same thing with Amazon. A $2.2 trillion company is unorganizable. But we did it and we showed y'all the way. And it's possible that anybody could do the same thing, no matter where you work, no matter what job you're in, you can unionize your workforce. All you need is 30% of your workforce. Fill out an application, drop it off to the National Labor Relation Board, the closest office, and then have your election. And you need 50% plus one. Not hard to do. Just got to do the work. And the work is showing up every single day, sacrificing your time away from your loved ones, your friends, your families, your hobbies, because the best accountability is availability. And that's what I learned from organizing. You can't just give up. You have to be out there and you can't have one foot in and out. You got to have both feet in this fight because this is a lifetime fight.
Thank you. Answering these well. I got one more for you. One more. That was a challenging one. All right. Let's see. Let's see. So, your Mass Call alumni, our comrade Jared Ball would like this one. So, what do you think about things like cryptocurrency and how they're making workers think about the economy and labor and things of that nature? What do you think about us getting into crypto and trying to do that ourselves?
I mean, sure. I mean, times are changing, things are changing, the economy's changing. But at the end of the day, I like to remain focused on the fact that labor is under attack. And by us already trying to transition away from traditional economic or even when you're talking about how we create income for Black people, create wealth, generational wealth, cryptocurrency is something that the white man created. And I don't feel safe when it comes to ushering people into that. Something that's still uncharted and still unregulated. And that's what we have to be aware of. We have to be conscious enough to know our enemy and conscious to know the tricks that they play. And we can't just be so gullible with the sheep mentality to allow us our communities to be ushered into these fields without doing our own due diligence. And that's why I say labor is our strongest weapon and our withholding our physical labor is our strongest weapon. With cryptocurrency and everything that's digital, you wouldn't be able to do that. That would still have to be given over to the tech bros, the billionaire class. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to have the billionaire class control our labor, control our digital currency, control even our own quality of lives. So for us, um, organizing is our best tool. Being ready for whatever is to come and making sure that our communities are strong, our generations to come are educated. And what I mean by that is on a massive level, Career days, I want to see labor leaders look like me walk into the classroom and talk to the young kids. When I walk into classrooms now in elementary schools, I got 9 and 10-year-olds telling me that Jeff Bezos is a bad man. And that's what it should be. We shouldn't just allow our teachers to bring in on career day firefighters and police officers. We need to see young activists, young people from our communities that are doing such great work reach the youth, talk to these kids, educate one another, because I spent a large portion of our campaign educating our coworkers on even what a union is. There's a lot of people do not know these things. And the same thing when I talk about the revolution that we're living in now, because this is a revolution. People are fighting back in various different ways, various different forms. But one thing about this revolution in America is that it's going to be super slow. This is a country where we're so retroactive. We wait for things to get worse before it get better. We can't allow that. We have to be proactive right now. And when we're talking about this revolution, remind yourself every day that if you don't get up and do the work, who is going to do that for you? And that the revolution that we're living in now is going to start with yourself.
Drop some love in the chat for that, y'all. Very much appreciated. Your time tonight, Chris.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
I see some love. I see some nines in the chat. Absolutely. Our elders told us that. They learned that lesson. They said this is a protracted struggle. We're in this for generations, as our comrades around the world show us, as Palestinians show us, as the people in Burkina Faso show us. So, just real quick call to action. If you appreciated tonight, if you appreciate work like this, and you want to get more deeply involved, become a member if you haven't yet. Visit blackmen.build/membership. And to become a member, there's just a few things you have to do. Of course, we pay dues, $9 a month. Nine is a sacred number for Black Men Build. If you know, you know. And if you don't know, ask somebody, join our organization. 10 membership organizations, sign our values pledge, which you could have already done on this call, and then participate in 3 mass calls like this one. We upload these to YouTube, so go subscribe to Black Men Build's YouTube channel if you want to catch a recording of this in the future. And of course, this kind of work takes resources, takes people power. And so if you have some financial resources you'd like to donate, your donations help build more hubs around the country, like this one right here, which is happening live from Black Men Build Atlanta. So please visit bit.ly, donate to BNB1. Go on our website. You could be a monthly sustainer and deepen your impact. That I want to say thank you. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. As always, peace to the nines, love to the nines, power to the nines all the damn time. Hope y'all have a great night.